Many new artists think that they can sing their song the same way on stage that they did when they were in the studio. And sometimes you can, but a lot of our favorite artists have completely different approaches to the live rendition of their song than they do to the studio version they recorded. Let's chat about why. The inspiration for this topic is actually coming from my experience singing with a corporate band, where I'm starting to realize and have a lot more awareness for myself and how I perform and what my voice is capable of, because I'm having to sing so frequently and I'm singing things differently than I would if I was just standing still or even if I was doing a cover of the song in the studio. And there were a lot of choices that I was making live on the show that I probably wouldn't do if I was in the studio. So I wanted to explore this topic a little bit more for why it is that singing on stage live is always going to be different than singing in the studio, even if it just comes down to one factor. But I'm also going to talk about the other factors that determine why we cannot sing exactly the same way on stage at a live show as we would in a studio situation, which is isolated. Let's chat about it. If it comes down to nothing else, the main reason why you are not going to sing your song the same way live as you did in the studio, it all boils down to one option giving you as much time as you want, or nearly as much time as you want, versus the other option giving you only that one chance or that one moment to get it right. When you are in the studio, however much time you booked, I would recommend at least 4 hours for everybody, whether you're a rapper or a singer, but you have 4 hours within that time to perfectly execute every part of the song and nitpick every little thing about the song and about the performance that you want to. You can make it perfect. You can take your time with it, and you don't have to stress or worry about having it perfect, because if there's a take you don't like, you can take it out, you can replace it, you can re-sing it, you can experiment with what you want to do, you can layer it, you can ad-lib it, you can just do all kinds of things in the studio. You can add effects, But when it comes to performing live on stage, all you have is the moment. All you have is one opportunity to get it right. When you're in a live situation, especially if you are a newer artist doing showcases, you have a limited time slot that you're working within. There is no run it back. There is no let me do it again. There is no let me start over for you. No. If you only have 7 minutes for your set, you have 7 minutes to get it all right in that one fell swoop. You don't have 7 minutes to get through one song perfectly, to make sure that you're doing it perfectly every single time. And in 7 minutes, you're probably trying to cram a lot of things into one set, right? Versus in the studio, you have the option of, I can either focus on making this one song great, or I can try to knock out a bunch of different songs, right? But the main difference for why you cannot sing it the same in a live situation as you can in the studio, it comes down to time. Studio, you have nearly all the time in the world, or at least as much time as you book to get it right. When it comes to a live situation, as I said, and I need to reiterate, and I need it to get through your brain, you only have this moment. So something that you did in the studio may not be feasible in a live situation, especially if you're the type of rapper that overlaps all of their lines and you don't pay attention to your songwriting and you don't pay attention to your breathing and you don't pay attention to your cadence. If you're that kind of artist where you're not even writing in a way that is allowing for you to breathe, that is allowing for you to get your lines out in one smooth take, then you're going to have a really hard time adapting that song to a live situation because you never even wrote it in a way that was going to translate well for the stage. That's something to think about. I run into a lot of artists who, the way that they're recording it, it's great that you're getting your song done. That's true. But also, have you thought any further than being in the studio? Have you thought live performance? Have you thought music video? Have you thought placements elsewhere? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of newer artists are not thinking about that important, crucial piece of songwriting. Are you only ever going to be a studio artist, or do you hope to go on to bigger stages, world tours, connecting with people on a personal level? To do that, you have to perform. You have to be on stage. So if you're not writing in a way that is envisioning you doing a live situation, Of course, you're not going to be able to perform what you did in the studio live on stage because you didn't think about those elements for your live performance. So that's one aspect of it, the time and the mindfulness. The next reason why it is different singing live from being in a studio situation is because the vocal demand is different. Think about it. When you're in a recording studio, you're mostly standing up. Some people sit down. Depending on the song, there's no right or wrong answer, but depending on the song, you have to either be standing or sitting to get a certain emotion out of yourself, right? But when you're in the studio, you're most likely standing up. You're most likely in one place. The most movement you're doing is probably swaying back and forth, probably moving your hands up and down, doing all these little motions, especially if you're reading lyrics off the phone and you're really feeling it. That's probably the most you're going to do. When you're on stage, there's so much more movement happening. There's not just you standing there unless you are that type of artist. And sometimes, depending on the song, there are moments when you need to stand still on stage to give a more intimate performance. But for the most part, if you're really trying to entertain people, you're not standing in one spot on the stage. You're moving around. You're going from left to right, from the closeness of the stage to the depth of the stage. You're using the entire area and you're approaching and you're making eye contact with everybody around that perimeter. When you're in a studio, you're not doing that. So you're not using as much energy. You're not allocating breath to movement and dancing. If you're dancing, oh my goodness, if you have choreography or if you're just feeling it and you're moving around in a live situation, you got to think about how your vocal performance is affected by how much air supports the notes and the pitches that you're hitting. When you're in a studio situation, all of that air is being focused into your vocal cords and it's pushing out the sounds as you're recording in the studio. But when you're in a live situation, your breathing becomes split between giving you the support you need from your notes and giving your body the air it needs to push oxygen and nutrients through your body so that you have the energy to do these movements. It's adding more demand onto your vocal load, adding more demand onto your lung capacity. And I bet a lot of newer artists don't think about this. A lot of people do not think about this, but the demand is simply different. Do you really think that if you are performing a certain way in the studio, when you add movement, when you add crowd engagement, when you add weather, if you're at an outdoor situation, when you add having to think about sound elements and, microphone placement and how you're holding and how you're interacting, when you add all of those things, it's not only taking up breath and air, but it's also taking up like mental capacity. When you're in the studio, you don't have nearly as many things to think about. But when you're in a live situation, there are just so many more layers that come with a performance. So the demand is different from being in a live situation compared to being in a studio situation, especially when it comes to that breathing. You're moving around more. You're trying to impress people. You're probably singing at a higher octave or a higher pitch than you did in the studio because you want to seem hype. You want to give energy to the crowd. All of those things are going to be different. There's different variables that go into performing live that's different from singing or rapping or performing in a studio situation. And that is what I want you to get on this point. Another reason why performing live and performing in the studio are not the same thing is because when you're in a studio, your vocals are isolated. When you're in a live situation, your voice has to compete with so many more things. So when you're in a studio, right, you're in a room, usually by yourself. There's usually blankets or some kind of sound treatment on the wall to deaden the sound. So like sounds don't echo as much. So the surfaces of this box that you're in is not messing up your recording. It's very much a controlled environment. Sound that's not supposed to be there is not getting in, and sound is not escaping. That's not supposed to escape. So you're not necessarily affected by what's happening outside of this room, unless maybe mentally you're just not there, but that's a whole nother conversation. But in a studio, you are very much isolated. It's you and this microphone in this box surrounded by sound treatment. And all you have to do is probably a dark room too. Don't forget about that. It's probably dark. And all you have to do is sing, or all you have to do is rap. All you have to do is perform, convey a certain emotion, and you can be free. There's nobody watching except maybe the engineer if there's a window. But a lot of times the engineer's not even paying attention to you. The engineer's paying attention to what's happening on the computer screen, right? So being in the studio, it's very isolated. Let's compare that to being in a live situation. And there are so many things that you are competing with when you are in a live situation. For one, it's not just you by yourself anymore, and you're not in a small enclosed room. It's still you and the microphone, but now you're in open space. Whether you're indoors in a venue or whether you are performing outside in a festival situation, it's you, the microphone, and now you have this big old stage. There are no walls, so sound is going everywhere and all kinds of sounds are coming at you. You're not in a box anymore. There's the audience members. There's the sound people. There's the sound system, There's all of these distractions in the audience. If you're outside, there's the weather that you have to think about. How hot or cold is it? How windy is it? Is it raining? Do you have any protection from the sun? Are you hot? Is the gear hot? Are you cold? Are your vocals cold? How is the audience doing? Are they paying attention to you? Are you lesser known artists so they don't care so much, so they might be talking and being really loud? If you're in like a small club, a lot of times with these open mics or these showcase situations, people don't know you, and unfortunately, not a lot of people have respect for those who are on stage. So activities and things are happening all around you. Somebody could be ordering really loudly. Somebody could be carrying on, having a conversation, laughing. People are taking pictures. People are just doing whatever. It's way more distractions, right? You're competing with if an airplane flies by, you're competing with if there are servers and waitresses moving around, glasses clinking, people smoking, talking. You're competing with all of those different things. And on top of that, mentally, you're trying to stay focused on being on this stage. You kind of have to be aware of your surroundings because you can't totally lose yourself in the moment, or at least you become more conscious to losing yourself because, like I said, you're not in this box alone and essentially just you in a dark room anymore. Now you're exposed. Now you have eyes watching you. Now people can make comments. People can make observations. It has a different effect on the mind knowing that people are watching and they have opinions versus when you're in the studio by yourself and all you have to think about is, how did this particular take make me feel? Am I proud of it? Now you're opening yourself up to other people. And I know the way that I'm describing this is probably a little intimidating, but it's real. It's going to affect you. Being in a live situation is going to affect you differently from being in a studio. Let's say that the way that you hit a falsetto note, if you're a singer, the way that you hit a falsetto when you're standing still singing in that booth, are you going to be able to accomplish that on stage? The falsetto may not be as strong. It may not be strong enough to cut through the sound of the audience talking or chattering or glasses clinking or people eating. It may not be strong enough. You may have to decide to approach your song in a different way because you need your vocals to cut through all of these other competing sounds. These are things that I want you to think about when it comes to how you're performing in a studio versus how you need to translate it to a live situation. I know that we want to sometimes be as close to the original as possible because especially if you are a bigger artist, people are comfortable with familiarity. They know how the song goes. They want to sing along with it. They know the key parts. They know the iconic parts of the song, and they're expecting those things. However, when you add the different elements of being in a new environment, having more eyes on you, moving, dancing, doing choreography, those things do take a different type of demand compared to being in a studio. And so I just wanted to quickly go over some of those things that can affect your performance on a live stage that might not affect your performance in a studio situation, because I want you to be thinking ahead. Especially if you are newer artists, more seasoned artists who have an understanding of going through the different cycles of artistry, we understand this a lot better. It doesn't stop at the studio. If you're just getting started, you're just trying to figure out how to stay consistent recording in the studio and coming every week and recording 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs every month. and trying to release something consistently every year, right? When you've been doing music for a while, like I have, you understand that this studio is not the only place this song can live. It can go on streaming platforms. Great. That's going to be your studio version. But it can go beyond streaming platforms. What if people want to connect with you personally? What if you want to go on tour? What if you want to be a big deal? That takes being outside. That takes rubbing shoulders. And that takes performing. So you're going from studio to streaming to performing. How are you acting it out in music videos? How are you portraying it in photography? You know, when you're doing cover art for these things, different environments are going to require different parts of you. It's going to have a different demand. And so I just want you to think about that as an artist. The way that I wrote this song, the way that I performed it in the studio, does this translate well to a live situation? Or can I have my studio version, but when I do get the opportunity to perform live, I am thinking about how can I adapt this song to be performed live on stage so that I am hitting the key parts of my song, but I'm also making sure I'm putting on a good show for the people who came out to support. Just some things that I want you to think about. But I thank you so much for tuning in to Lex Chat. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified each and every time I post a new piece of content. In the comment section, let me know what topics you want to chat about next. But until then, my name is LexC. Peace.
So won't you please swing it my way? Body swinging my way. I come through looking good on a Saturday night. Eyes hooked so alluring, they all wanna bite. Had eye lip gloss and my teeth so white, but a pecan make it wanna lick my thighs. Pretty brown skin, everybody mesmerized. Want a chance to be on me and make you mine. I'm a real big deal, know you want a big feel. Got a real good feeling about you building. Look at you and this could be right. Time to meet you, come make my night. See you watching, come catch this vibe. Come and swing with me left to right.
Seeing you cross the room and I can't lie, I'm digging all you moves. Out of all these women in the club, I'm only feeling you.